I don't believe there's a limit, but I have way too much evidence in my own life to know otherwise. And a prime example of this is a couple of years ago. And there's kind of a long story, which I'm going to cut short, but I was approached by a university in Colombia to create a curriculum for school about, all the principles that I teach about, self-esteem and setting goals. And I created this My Movies for Kids program. And they wanted, 12 lessons for 8 to 12-year-olds and, homework for the parents. And I'm like, yes, yep, no problem. And I hang up the phone and I start to freak out because I'm like, okay, I left school when I was 15.
Wow.
And I don't have children. I am so not capable of doing this. Why did I say yes? I do not know how to do this. But I just went into my, into the, my practice, what I do, and I bite off more than I could chew. I just sit down in a visualization and I just put myself in the classroom in Colombia, and for the full first week, I couldn't do that visualization and not cry because, I'm seeing the kids and they're so happy and the teacher's crying, telling me how much of a difference it's made in their life. And I'm talking to the parents and I can see the difference that this program is making. And when I come out of that, so I'm in the vibration of it already happening. I'm like, okay, what's my next step? What do I do? And I'm like, right, do I know a teacher? So I had one girlfriend that's a teacher and I reached out to her and said, look, do you, is there like a universal way that lessons are laid out? So at least I look like I know what I'm doing. And she goes, yeah. So she sent me that. So I figured out what the lessons were and I called my copywriter because I'm like, dude, I've got 1 week to get this done. Can you just flesh it out with words and then I can tweak your words? It's going to be a faster process. And he said, of course I could do that. He said, but I have a secret weapon. I'm like, what's that? He goes, my wife's a teacher and she specializes in early age curriculum. And I'm like, no. And this is what I'm talking about. When we know with every fiber of our being that this can happen, then what we need shows up for us to make it happen. Now I'm working with my girlfriend in Sydney and she's a child psychologist and we're doing this 12-week program is now morphed into from 5-year-olds all the way up to 18-year-olds. It's a global program. We've got pilot programs happening in New Zealand and Australia and the US, and it's going to change a generation. And it went from me going, I'm not worthy, who am I to think that this is going to happen, to, okay, this is how it's happening because you're able to attract to you all the events and the resources and the people and opportunities that you need. So I don't believe that there is such a thing as a goal too big. It may take a little bit more time to reach it than other things. And like I said, I've been working on this for a couple of years, but where next year the whole program will be ready to roll out. And
that's amazing.
Every single minute that I spent working on it.
Wow. I was reading about it. I was like, oh my gosh, you've expanded in so many different directions. I also don't believe that as sort of a trick question. Of course, I know that you always are kind of preaching to, have huge dreams and goals and everything else. Another question that came up, it kind of slipped my mind. So can you tell our audience how to find you? Like what's the best way to find out about Mind Movies and everything else?
I mean, if you go to mindmovies.com, it's our main website. So we have a lot of free resources there as well. So, you can get access to the Inspiration Show and to, some free pre-made Mind Movies that we have there. But then also access to all the programs that we have there as well. So it's the best resource for everything. But if I was to also add, if there's, when we're talking about visualization, and I get this question a lot, and I'm actually, was answering a few questions in our USM program this morning, because people are like, okay, but I can't see it. Like, yes, I can, I understand that I'm supposed to see this Technicolor movie, but I don't actually get to see that. And that's not necessarily the best way to visualize. And for me, what I highly recommend is that after you've watched a Mind movie or looked at Vision Board or whatever that is, that when you close your eyes, rather than seeing a movie out in front of you where you're like a character in the movie, what's really powerful is to what we call dimensionalize your visualization. So you're actually in so you're actually in the visualization, and you're using as many senses as you can to make it as real as possible. So let's say, for example, you're visualizing being pregnant, okay, having a healthy pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
So not that I've ever been pregnant, but what I would imagine that I'd be waking up in the morning, I know, feeling a little bit of, back pain, but feeling my belly, then getting up, sitting down to breakfast, like a really healthy breakfast that's in alignment with the health I want to create for my baby. So I can taste the fresh eggs, and, you can smell the sugar-free bacon or whatever that is, and the fresh juice. And I can feel, how I'm feeling as I'm being mobile while I'm pregnant. And then, I'm going out and I can see people, and I'm having these conversations, and I'm shaking their hand, and I'm letting them feel my belly, and all these things. So you're using as many senses as you can so that you are actually in the scene itself. Now, by doing that, it's so real to your subconscious mind. It really doesn't know the difference between what you see through your eyes and what you play realistically in your mind like this. And the more often you can do that, what's happening is that we're creating these new neural pathways in our brain with thoughts that are in alignment with this reality. So all these other thoughts that are telling us why we can't get pregnant and why it's never going to happen and we're too old and, all those bad things, they start to diminish. Those neural pathways start to actually atrophy, and these new stronger pathways with thoughts that are in alignment with this new future then start to come through. So what you find is that without a lot of effort, you're thinking positively, you're taking actions that are in alignment with being in this healthy pregnancy without having to put too much effort into it. And when you have the emotions that are aligned with all of this, like I said, we become such a strong magnet to this reality that we're creating, that there's no doubt that it could be, that it will come to fruition.
Right. And I mean, the way you described it is beautifully. I mean, and if we went into it further, I mean, it's affecting the neurotransmitters in the brain, which, cascade down to the hormonal system. So if people are going, well, I don't get how doing that could help me get pregnant. I mean, it's creating changes in the physiology of your body. It's amazing.
And even it's like sitting in that visualization of, of the sperm, fertilizing the egg and seeing the multiplication of the cells, and, and seeing a healthy womb and all of that, that helps immensely because you're creating that, and if you read any books like, there's a really good book that's actually came out yesterday. It's called Becoming Supernatural. And it's by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I've been working with him for the last 4 years. And so we have been, using my movies in his workshops. We're doing meditations. We're brain mapping people. We're measuring, chakra alignment, heart math monitors, cortisol levels. So we've been gathering all this science as to why this works. And there's a whole lot of stories in there of people who have overcome different, health conditions, but have been able to create this optimal health body with every cell in their body. And it helps you to understand how our mind really can override and control our body. And when you know this and you believe in this, you understand that you can create the perfect environment, for a baby to be conceived in your body.